All right, let's talk about something really important. You know those older students, the ones who do pretty much anything to avoid reading out loud in class? The ones who just flat out say, I hate reading? Well, what if the reason they struggle has been hiding in plain sight all along? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden reading gap and find out why so many middle and high schoolers find reading so incredibly tough. And this quote from a teacher, wow, it just nails it. It gets right to the heart of the whole problem. The students feel it, right? They feel the effort, the frustration, the embarrassment. They know what is happening. Reading is hard, but they have no idea why. They can't put a name to the thing that's holding them back. And then you see this quote, and it all clicks into place. Imagine if reading has always felt like climbing a steep, rocky hill. You just assume that's what reading is. You wouldn't know that for other people, it feels more like a casual stroll. You just think everyone else is better at hiding how tired they are. This is so important because it traps them. Their struggle feels totally normal to them. So here's the scary part. What happens when you have a problem, a real struggle, but you don't have a name for it? Well, you start to invent your own explanation. And this is where a simple, fixable skill gap starts to morph into a deeply damaging part of who a student thinks they are. Exactly. When kids don't know the real reason reading is hard, they land on these absolutely soul-crushing conclusions. The problem isn't, I have some trouble decoding multisyllabic words. No. It becomes, I'm dumb. Or I guess I'm just not a reader. And this isn't a real diagnosis, right? It's a story they've told themselves to make sense of years and years of working twice as hard as everyone else for half the results. Okay, so this is the absolute key to understanding this. The behaviors we see, the kid who acts out, the one who avoids reading, the one who can't seem to focus, those are almost always just symptoms. They aren't the real problem. Let's pop the hood for a second and see what's actually driving all of this. This chart just connects all the dots, doesn't it? That student who hates reading out loud, it's probably because their brain is working overtime just to sound out the words. We call that inefficient decoding, and the fear of stumbling in front of everyone is just terrifying. Or what about the kid who reads a whole page and has no idea what it said? That's not a comprehension issue. Their brain is using up all its processing power, all its energy, just to lift the words off the page. There's literally no mental bandwidth left over to figure out what it all means. It all comes back to a word-level efficiency gap. So this brings up a huge question, right? If this is such a common foundational issue, why on earth isn't it getting fixed? How are students getting all the way to high school with these gaps? Well, it turns out there are a couple of big systemic barriers in the way. Let's break these down. First, you've got a training gap. Your high school history teacher is an expert on the Civil War, not on phonics intervention. Your English teacher knows Shakespeare inside and out, but they probably weren't trained in the science of reading. It's just not what they were hired to do. And then there's the tools gap. Even for the teachers who do know what's needed, the materials out there are often, well, they're for little kids. Handing a 16-year-old a worksheet with a cartoon giraffe on it is pretty much the fastest way to get them to shut down. Okay, so we know the problem, we know the barriers, so what does a real solution even look like? What would it take to build something that actually works for older students in the real world with all the pressures of a normal school day? These right here, these are the non-negotiables. First and foremost, it has to be dignity first. It can never, ever feel babyish. It's got to be short, something that can squeeze into a packed schedule. And this one is huge. It has to make progress visible. For the first time, students need to actually see that their hard work is paying off. That's the stuff that builds real confidence and keeps them in the game. Now, you might be thinking, are teachers actually asking for this? Well, a recent survey gave us a pretty loud and clear answer. So this survey went out, and at the time, only 21 teachers had responded. Not a huge number, right? But what happened next? That's the real story. Of those 21 teachers, an incredible 17 of them asked to join a pilot program. And get this, it wasn't for some polished, finished product. This was to help test and build brand new, unproven lessons. They were volunteering to be guinea pigs. Let's be clear, that is not just casual curiosity. That is a 5-alarm fire of unmet need. It's a massive signal from teachers on the front lines who are desperately looking for tools that can finally help their students with this hidden reading gap. So while the world is busy building these better tools, what can you do? Like tomorrow? Turns out there's a really simple but really powerful move that any teacher can make to start changing this whole conversation. It's this 3-step chat. It takes, 2 minutes? But it can change everything. First, you normalize it. You separate the struggle from their identity. You say, this isn't about being smart. Second, you finally give them the real reason. You replace "I'm dumb" with "your brain is just working too hard on the words." And third, you make the fix feel concrete and achievable. This isn't just a pep talk, it's giving them clarity. And that clarity is what finally gives a student permission to try again.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What really changes for the students, for the teachers, for the whole system when we finally stop treating reading struggle like a personality flaw and start treating it for what it actually is, a skill gap just waiting to be filled?